Hey gang, it's your buddy Platt back with another episode of Value Spirits. The particular spirit we have today is Old Forester Kentucky Straight Bourbon. This is the 86 proof bottle. A little background into Old Forester. Old Forester is a product of Foreman, the major spirits conglomerate based out of Louisville, Kentucky. I've been fortunate enough to visit their facility in Louisville, also the facility that the cooperage that makes the barrels. Foreman, for those of you that don't know, have some of the biggest brands in the business. First foremost, Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, Herradura Tequila, Finlandia Vodka, just to name a few. So definitely a big player in the spirits business. As far as this brand goes, Old Forester Bourbon was first released in 1870. One of the things that makes it unique was it was the first bourbon exclusively bottled. We talked about with Jim Beam for a long time, they did not bottle. You would either go to the distillery with your old kind of moonshine jug to fill up like you would, your car, or you just buy a barrel. They started off exclusively in a bottle. You did not buy it in any other way. Also, one of the things they did that was real unique was the bottle had a seal. This was well before the Bottle and Bond Act or any kind of bottling laws or regulations. The seal was kind of a proof of quality that no one had adulterated it in any way. It was originally sold in pharmacies. It was considered a medicinal product, a medicinal whiskey. Now, interestingly enough, the gentleman that founded the brand, George Gavin Brown, thus Brown Foreman, before he got in the whiskey business, was a pharmaceutical salesman. So he kind of knew the lay of the land. He knew what would work with pharmacies and their customers and this, that, and the other. And again, the seal just made it seem more professional. Move along. As far as the name goes, Old Forester, it was named after Dr. William Forester. He was a doctor that endorsed it. Today you'll see commercials. 4 out of 5 dentists endorse this toothbrush or something like that. Back then, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Old Forester for your bourbon needs, what have you. Now, oddly enough, his name was spelled with 2 R's. The brand is with 1 R. They did it to kind of avoid any potential legal issues down the line. Move ahead to 1910. Old Forester was the first bourbon to double barrel. Now, this was a happy accident. This wasn't necessarily on purpose. Apparently, they had dumped some barrels they were getting ready to bottle when a small fire broke out in the distillery. Now, luckily, it didn't make it to the bourbon, but they kind of had to make a decision to make, and what they did was put the bourbon back in other barrels and end up releasing kind of a special line from it. They were the first double-barrel bourbon, doing it 100 years before most people were trying it. We move ahead to 1920, and Prohibition kicks in nationwide, but luckily they were one of 6 distilleries that got to keep going. We talked about this before. And because they made it through Prohibition, their claim is they are the longest continuous bourbon brand that has stayed in one company. The Brown family today is still, I believe, the majority stockholder or major stockholder in the company. So it's still the same brand, stayed in company, Brown Foreman, and they have not changed companies since. So technically they're right. They're not the oldest bourbon, but the oldest one that has just stayed with one company the entire time. After Prohibition, we move ahead to 1941, and Old Forester is the first distillery to convert over to wartime production. They quit producing bourbon and just started producing bulk ethanol for the war effort. I believe it only took them a couple weeks before they were delivering to the Department of Defense. Move ahead 10 years to 1951, and Old Forester was the first bourbon to introduce a decanter, especially decanter to the marketplace. Nowadays we see that a lot, or these gift packs or whatever. 1951, they decided to do a holiday gift set with a special decanter. Again, another first for them. Now, what is in the bottle? This bourbon has the same mash bill as Woodford Reserve. The gentleman that had just recently stepped down, Chris Morris, was the master distiller at Woodford for years and years and years. He also watched after this brand, was the distiller for Old Forester too. That mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% barley. Higher rye than some others, and it generally comes out in the taste. Real quick, let's talk about some of their other bourbons. Probably the one that most bourbon lovers know is the birthday bourbon. It was, again, another first for Old Forester. They were the first to do a kind of vintage release, or a, kind of a yearly release, a 2012, a 2018, what have you. They release it each year on the birthday of George Gavin Brown, the founder of the company. Next is Old Forester 1870. This line is designed to replicate the flavor profile of the original Old Forester. Kind of a cool idea. And lastly, Old Forester 1920. They call this a Prohibition-style bourbon. Even though they were allowed to distill through Prohibition, there were still some rules and regulations. One was had to be a minimum of 100 proof. They apparently put it in the barrel at 100 proof, and then after the Angel Shares came out to 115. So, again, one of those little weird tweaks of history. Well, enough about that. Let's try some Old Forester. All right, let's hit the nose. Ooh, that does remind me of Woodford. So, quick little story. When I went up to Louisville in the Brown-Forman, we also stopped by the Woodford distillery. We were there when they were getting ready to blend and bottle, and were doing like a 19-barrel batch or whatever, and they were cracking open the barrel. They just drank out the barrel. Now, it was like 130 proof water, but there was just a smell that, like, when you drank it, it was hot, but it was also like chewing on a wood stay, the little stays for the barrels. That is one of the first things I get on the nose. Like, it reminded me of that moment. It's 86 proof, it's not near as hot, but that wood note reminds me of that moment. I'm not saying this is going to taste the same as Woodford, but the nose is what really gets me. Let's give her a try. That's it. That is it right there. That still kind of reminds me flavor-wise. Again, we're talking about, 40 proof points different. So it's not near as hot, but there is an aggressiveness, and there's definitely a little more rye aggressiveness in there. I still get the sweetness, the corn sweetness on the front of the tongue, but, and it kind of expands out, but there is that rye pepperiness. There's definitely plenty of wood. Oh my gosh, this is real nice. Not necessarily a dark char, probably more medium char wise, but plenty of wood, a little bit of caramel. To me, it attacks the tongue more than, let's say, a Buffalo, definitely more than a Buffalo Trace, and even Jim Beam a little bit. But that is good. That is really nice. It really expands nicely in the mouth. The finish, it sits around for a minute. It's not in a hurry, which is kind of nice. But it has been a minute since I've had Old Forester, and I apologize for that because this turned out pretty nice. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good product. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or spirits that you'd like me to try, please leave me in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.